There is a bottle sitting in your kitchen right now that doctors in the Mediterranean have known about for 3,000 years. But Western medicine only recently confirmed with hard science. And if you're not using it correctly, you are getting zero of the benefits. Olive oil, you probably think you know what it does. You cook with it. Maybe you pour it on salads. Maybe you've heard it's heart healthy, whatever that means. But here is what almost no one talks about. Scientists have now identified over 36 separate bioactive compounds in extra virgin olive oil. And when these compounds enter your body together, something remarkable happens in 3 specific places: your heart, your brain, and your gut, simultaneously. The problem? Most of the olive oil sold in supermarkets today has already had these compounds stripped out. You're pouring liquid fat into your pan and calling it healthy. But the most powerful molecule inside that oil was destroyed the moment they processed it. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what olive oil does inside your body when you get the real version. What changes in your heart within days, what happens to your brain over weeks, and what's happening right now in your gut that you've never been told. Stay until the end, because I'm also going to show you the exact 3-second test you can do at home to know if your olive oil is real or fake. Most people who try it are shocked by the result. Let's start with the science, because once you understand this, everything changes. For decades, scientists studied the Mediterranean diet trying to figure out why people in Greece, Crete, and southern Italy had dramatically lower rates of heart attacks, dementia, and gut disease. They blamed it on fish, on vegetables, on lifestyle. Then, in 2005, a team at the Monell Chemical Senses Center in Philadelphia discovered something no one expected. They isolated a compound in extra virgin olive oil called oleocanthal. And when they tested it, it behaved almost identically to ibuprofen in the human body. The same anti-inflammatory pathway, the same biological mechanism, but without the stomach damage, without the liver strain, and without the side effects. That study was published in the journal Nature. This wasn't a wellness blog. This was peer-reviewed, hard science. But oleocanthal is only one piece. High-quality extra virgin olive oil contains a compound called oleic acid, a monounsaturated fat that makes up 70 to 80% of its composition. It contains hydroxytyrosol, one of the most powerful antioxidants ever measured. It contains oleuropein, which studies show specifically targets arterial inflammation, and it contains squalene, a compound found in almost no other common food that actively protects your DNA from oxidative damage. Now, here is where it gets extraordinary. These compounds don't work independently. They work in synergy. Scientists call this the entourage effect. Each compound amplifies the others. And when all 36 polyphenols are present and intact, which only happens in cold-pressed, unfiltered, high-quality extra virgin olive oil, what reaches your bloodstream is one of the most protective substances in the entire human food supply. So, let's talk about what it actually does. Let's start with your heart, because this is where the evidence is most overwhelming. Your arteries have a thin inner lining called the endothelium. Think of it like the coating inside a pipe. When this lining is healthy, blood flows freely, your blood pressure stays regulated, and clots don't form unexpectedly. When the endothelium is inflamed and damaged, which happens from processed food, stress, sugar, and oxidized fats, it becomes sticky. Plaque builds up, blood pressure rises, and the risk of a heart attack begins to climb. Here is what olive oil does specifically. The oleocanthal we talked about directly suppresses the COX-1 and COX-2 inflammatory enzymes, the same ones that aspirin targets. But unlike aspirin, it doesn't thin your blood dangerously. It simply dials down chronic inflammation in the arterial walls. A landmark study, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, followed over 7,400 people at high cardiovascular risk. One group ate a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil. The result? A 30% reduction in major cardiovascular events, heart attacks, strokes, and cardiovascular death. 30%. Not from a drug, from olive oil. But here's the part most people don't know. The oleic acid in olive oil has been shown to increase HDL cholesterol, your so-called good cholesterol, while simultaneously making LDL cholesterol particles larger and less likely to oxidize. Oxidized LDL is what actually causes plaques to form. Regular LDL doesn't become dangerous until it oxidizes. Olive oil addresses the root cause. There's also a compound called oleuropein aglycone that studies show can literally soften arterial stiffness. In a study published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, participants who consumed extra virgin olive oil daily for 3 months showed measurable reductions in arterial stiffness, which is one of the strongest independent predictors of heart disease. And one more thing that almost never gets mentioned. Olive oil activates a protein called SIRT1, a longevity gene associated with caloric restriction and cellular repair. This is the same pathway activated by fasting and red wine's resveratrol. You don't need to fast. You don't need supplements. 2 tablespoons of real extra virgin olive oil a day triggers this pathway in your cardiovascular system. Within 30 days of daily use, research shows measurable improvement in endothelial function, the flexibility and responsiveness of your arterial walls. Your heart literally works more efficiently. Now, let's talk about your brain. And this section is the one that surprised me most when I first researched it. Alzheimer's disease is now the 7th leading cause of death globally. And for decades, scientists had no clear explanation for what causes it and no real treatment for how to stop it. Then, a team at the Lewis Katz School of Medicine at Temple University in Philadelphia did something remarkable. They fed mice a diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil, starting at 6 months old, before the typical age of Alzheimer's onset in the animal model. What they found was extraordinary. The olive oil group showed dramatically better learning, better memory, and better spatial awareness than the control group. But the more important finding was what happened inside their brains. Extra virgin olive oil activated a cellular process called autophagy. Autophagy literally means self-eating. It is your brain's garbage disposal, the mechanism by which cells break down and remove damaged proteins, dead cell debris, and toxic waste products. The protein tangles responsible for Alzheimer's disease. Autophagy clears them. In the olive oil group, tau tangles were significantly reduced. Amyloid plaques, the hallmark of Alzheimer's, were measurably lower. And synaptic integrity, the quality of connections between neurons, was preserved. In plain language, olive oil was protecting the architecture of the brain itself. Now, this was an animal study, so let's be clear about that. But several human observational studies point in the same direction. The pre-DIAMID study showed participants consuming high amounts of extra virgin olive oil had significantly better cognitive function scores over 6.5 years compared to those who didn't. And there is a mechanism beyond autophagy. Oleocanthal, our anti-inflammatory friend from the heart section, also crosses the blood-brain barrier. This is rare. Most food compounds cannot get through the brain's tight protective membrane. Oleocanthal can, and once inside, it reduces neuroinflammation, which is now considered a primary driver of both depression and neurodegeneration. There is also emerging research showing that oleic acid increases the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is sometimes called miracle grow for the brain. It promotes the growth of new neurons, it improves learning speed and memory consolidation, and it's directly correlated with protection against depression. A 2020 study published in Nutrients found that higher olive oil consumption was independently associated with lower rates of depression, even after controlling for every other dietary and lifestyle variable. If you've been feeling foggy, slow, or low, this is a piece of the puzzle that nobody is talking about.
Now your gut, and this may be the most important section of all three. Your gut contains approximately 38 trillion microorganisms. These bacteria, fungi, and other microbes collectively form what's called the gut microbiome. And research in the last decade has revealed that it doesn't just control digestion, it controls your immune system. It produces 90% of your body's serotonin. It communicates directly with your brain through the vagus nerve. And it regulates inflammation throughout your entire body. When your microbiome is healthy and diverse, you are healthier, calmer, and more resilient. When it is damaged, when the wrong species dominate, the effects reach every system in your body. Here is what olive oil does for the microbiome. A study published in Food Chemistry found that the polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil selectively stimulate the growth of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium species, the bacteria most associated with gut health, immune function, and mood regulation. At the same time, olive oil polyphenols inhibit the growth of pathogenic bacteria, including E. coli and Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori being the bacterium responsible for most stomach ulcers. So it's not just adding good bacteria, it's crowding out the harmful ones. But there's something even more important happening. The oleic acid in olive oil stimulates the release of a hormone called GLP-1. You may have heard of GLP-1. It's the mechanism behind drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. GLP-1 suppresses appetite, stabilizes blood sugar, and slows gastric emptying, meaning you feel full longer, crave less sugar, and experience fewer energy crashes throughout the day. Olive oil triggers this response naturally. There's also a compound called hydroxytyrosol that has been shown to repair the intestinal lining, the epithelial cells that form a tight barrier between the contents of your gut and your bloodstream. When this barrier breaks down, what is now called leaky gut, bacterial toxins called lipopolysaccharides enter your circulation, triggering systemic inflammation. This low-grade chronic inflammation is now linked to obesity, autoimmune disease, depression, and type 2 diabetes. Olive oil helps seal the wall. One final gut fact that almost no one has heard. Olive oil contains a phenolic compound called lignans that have been shown in multiple studies to reduce colorectal cancer risk. The European Prospective Investigation into Cancer and Nutrition study, covering over 500,000 people, found that olive oil consumption is independently associated with lower colorectal cancer risk. Your gut is not just digestion, it is the foundation of your entire health. And olive oil is one of the most gut-protected foods on the planet. Now, here is the part that almost nobody is telling us, and it makes everything I just told you conditional. The benefits I've described require one thing: real extra virgin olive oil. The International Olive Council estimates that up to 70% of olive oil sold in supermarkets labeled as extra virgin is either adulterated, blended with cheaper refined oils, or has been stored so improperly that the polyphenols have already oxidized, meaning they are chemically inert. You are getting the calories, but none of the medicine. Here are 3 things to look for when you buy olive oil. Number 1, the harvest date. Not the expiry date, the harvest date. Olive oil should be consumed within 18 months of harvest. If your bottle only shows an expiry date, the manufacturer is hiding the age of the oil. Put it back. Number 2. The container. Polyphenols degrade on contact with light. Real producers bottle in dark glass or opaque tins. Clear plastic or clear glass bottles on a lit supermarket shelf have already been compromised. Number 3. The throat test. This is the home test I promised you. Take a small sip of your olive oil, just a teaspoon, and swallow it. Real, high polyphenol extra virgin olive oil will cause a distinct peppery sting at the back of your throat. That sting is the oleocanthal. That is your medicine. If it goes down smooth with no sensation, the polyphenols are either gone or were never there. Now, for how to use it. Do not cook with your best olive oil at high heat. Polyphenols degrade above 180 degrees Celsius. Use it raw, drizzled over food, stirred into warm dishes off the heat, or taken directly. 2 tablespoons daily is the dose used in most clinical studies. That's roughly 240 calories. Account for this in your day. The best time is in the morning. A tablespoon of high-quality extra virgin olive oil taken on an empty stomach in the morning has been used in Mediterranean traditions for centuries. And we now know why. It directly activates the autophagy mechanism while fasting is still in effect from overnight sleep.
Your heart, your brain, your gut. 3 of the most important systems in your body, all protected, all supported by one ancient food that's been sitting in your kitchen the entire time. The Greeks didn't call olive oil liquid gold because it was expensive. They called it that because they understood what it did to the human body. And now you do too. If this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't heard before, share it with someone who needs it. Because most people are pouring the wrong oil and wondering why they're not feeling better. I'll link below a guide to the best tested olive oil brands with verified polyphenol content. And if you want to know what happens when you combine olive oil with this specific food every morning, click right here. It might be the most important 10 minutes of your week.